Hi guys, it's Fred here, and in today's video I'm going to give you the secret to fixing any injury. So, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Now, our dopamine systems are absolutely screwed, and not in a good way. And what I mean by how you do one thing is how you do everything. How you go on your phone every 5 seconds, how you interact with other people, how you work, how you eat, how you potentially, like when you're watching something on Netflix, you only watch 5 minutes and then you go and find something else. How you do that translates over to how you do everything else. So in relation to fixing an injury or rehab, if within your personal life you have things that aren't correct or that you need to fix, and you're very impulsive with how you use your phone, and therefore how you do everything else in life, so you can't concentrate for long periods of time, you have to check your phone every 5 seconds, then you're not going to be good at going through the process of rehab, because that process of rehab requires hard work, it requires consistency. It's not the same thing as normal training. You're going to have lots of ups and downs, and you need that discipline and that ability to concentrate for long periods of time. So in more simple terms here, we are a system of inputs and outputs. So what you put in is what you get out. So a lot of the time with people, they're quite surprised when I talk about fixing things in their personal life. And this is physical as well. So fixing your sleep, your nutrition, your relationships, and also your relationship with your phone, for example, which is draining your energy, draining your focus, and wasting your time as well. And the best clients that I have, who I work with, they're generally speaking not necessarily the best disciplined, but they have the best systems in place, and they get enough sleep, they eat well, they have healthy relationships, and they have systems in place to work effectively. And this carries over to their rehab. They're incredibly consistent with it. They give me lots of feedback, and it's a very, very noticeable pattern between good and bad clients. Okay, so that's the first thing. Fix things in other areas of your life. Make sure they're up to standard before embarking on this process of rehab, because it's not a simple thing and it requires a lot of commitment and a lot of discipline. Number two ties into this very nicely. It's self-accountability. Complete ownership of everything you do. In relation to having an injury, you have an injury because complete ownership of everything you do. So when you're injured, again, it's thinking about these things in your personal life, potentially not sleeping well, potentially drinking too much alcohol, potentially not doing things that you could be doing, that you know you could be doing to help your injury. And a lot of the time, this is why people look for that quick fix of going for a massage, getting some tape, getting some dry needling, because deep down they know they can fix other things, but those other things are tricky to fix. They take a bit more effort to fix, like your sleep, like your personal relationships, etc., etc. And typically these people tend to blame other factors or other people for their injury. So, for example, I'm getting old is a nice one. When someone's got an injury when they're over 30, it's like, you're not old. You've got lots of other things that you can fix before blaming that. Other people, they've seen other people in the same position, or they've blamed a particular methodology, and that's the reason as to why they're not getting better, even though they might not have done the exercises, they might not have engaged with the program. And that's 99% of it for most people. They expect to be fixed in like 1 to 2 weeks, whereas this process could be like 3 to 6 months of going from like being injured, in loads of pain, not doing anything, back to training with no pain, performing above their previous optimal. And a negative mindset. So again, this ties into all of this. Blaming other people as opposed to taking everything on board. What haven't I done? What can I try to do? Try a different method, see if it works. If not, try something else. Be positive about it. A great quote from Socrates here: "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." And again, not to get too philosophical, but it's so true. And again, I see the same patterns with good clients and bad clients. Good clients really engage with online rehab. They're really engaged in the process of getting better, and they take ownership of all their actions. They tell me, whether they've done all their exercise sessions, all their rehab sessions for the week, why haven't they done one or the other? Whereas people who don't typically tend to make excuses as to why they haven't filled in check-ins or done certain things. Okay, so that's really, really important. And again, this applies to anything in life, but particularly injuries, because again, it requires that much discipline and consistency to go from pain to performance and get back to your best. So that's point number 2. And point number 3 ties everything together very, very nicely. Progress is not linear, and it's really not linear like normal training. Normal training, if you're trying to get a bigger back squat, generally speaking, even if you're an intermediate or advanced lifter, if you go and do a back squat cycle, by the end of that 12-week cycle, for example, you've got a bigger back squat, you've put a few kilos on it, maybe more than that. Okay, the reason progress is even less linear with injury rehab is because there's many more variables. So, for example, you've got all these things that you need to sort out in your personal life. You've got pain, which is a huge one, and pain isn't your enemy. Pain is not something you should be completely avoiding, and it's a normal part of rehab. You need to accept that you're going to be in a little bit of pain when you start off. Obviously, being in agony all the time is not good, but you need to change your relationship with pain and understand that you're going to have ups and downs throughout the weeks. It's not always related to the injury. It could be due to personal relationships, being under high levels of stress in certain periods of your life, not sleeping well, not eating well. Think about these other factors instead of just blaming the injury. Pain is far more complex than that. As you know, like, our brains play tricks on us all the time. So think about that with pain and your relationship with pain, and learn to understand that you want the pain to obviously decrease as you go through this process of rehab, but don't be emotionally attached to it. Try to see it for what it is, and try to understand that there might be other reasons as to why week to week you might be in more pain than others, or day to day. But overall, look at the long-term trends. Don't look at the short-term trends. So again, look at it every few weeks, every month, and we should see a gradual decrease in pain and improvements in other metrics like your strength, mobility, etc., etc. So just chip away at it every week. Injury rehab is a bit like chipping away at, if you run your own business, you know this, that you chip away for a long period of time and then you don't get any results. And then suddenly one day you get loads of results. Rehab is very, very similar to this. You can be chipping away feeling like nothing is happening, and then one day, boom, pain is massively reduced, everything feels great, and then you're on the up. It's very much the same thing, and it's why, going back to point 1, how you do one thing is how you do everything, and point 2, self-accountability, discipline is really, really key. It's not the same thing as normal training, and in most cases, rehab can take longer than normal training to actually see results in terms of reduction in pain and improvements in all the metrics that you want, and getting back to normal training with no pain and lifting the weights you were previously. If you've got any questions about any of those points, drop them in the comments down below. And if you're interested in what I do at FCR with online injury rehabilitation, just visit the link in the description down below.